Good evening, and welcome to That's My Take podcast with your host, Nug, the narrator. You are at a podcast like no other. See if we can get everything right. There we go. Again, I am Nug, the narrator. Thank y'all for hanging with me for about 50 minutes as we explore world news, US news, hip hop and entertainment news, followed by I just can't make this shit up news, sports news in this day in history. So let's get right into it. CCTV shows moment of Turkey blast, an explosion outside in Turkey's interior ministry in the capital city. There was a terrorist attack. Two people carried out the attack, which injured two officers. An attacker blew himself up in front of a ministry building, and another was neutralized. The explosion happened just hours before Parliament was due to reconvene. It is not clear who the attackers were, as no one has claimed the attack. My take is terrorism is still real. This is obviously a indication of how real it is. We can't look too far in history to see attacks. They still happen frequent. It's just the media, our media, don't cover them as frequent. So that's why I picked up on this story, because I am aware that terrorism is definitely still a threat to all mankind. Moving on. And this one here, a little while, I might need to take a sip before I get into this next story. Abercrombie and Fitch, ex-CEO, accused of exploiting men for sex. You don't say. A BBC investigation found a highly organized network using a middleman to find young men for the events Mike J. and Matthew S. would have. 8 men told the BBC that attended these events, some of whom alleged they were exploited or abused themselves, that Mr. J and Mr. S did not respond to requests for comment. But the couple's middleman denied any wrongdoing and said men went to these events with their eyes wide open. Abercrombie and Fitch, which also owns the Hollister brand, said it was appalled and disgusted by these alleged behavior. The 8 men who attended the event said they were recruited by a middleman who was described as missing a nose. Yes, I did say that. He was described as missing a nose, covered with a snake skin patch. The BBC has identified him as James J. My take, sound a little Jeffrey E-ish to me. More than sure he probably visited the island and partaked in all such devilish deeds as these billionaires typically do, whether it's ritual or to pass the time for being so bored and rich. This activity, unbeknownst to us poor people, happens more frequently than we may think. That's my take. Wild story. Moving on. On a sadder note, in Mexico, 10 dead after the roof collapsed, including 3 children, were killed when the roof of a church collapsed in northern Mexico. The collapse happened on Sunday afternoon local time, as around 100 people were attending a baptism at a church at a St. Cruz church. 60 people were injured, at least 2 of them severely, and dozens were trapped underneath the rubble. Local residents rushed to the building with shovels and pickaxes to try to free those who was trapped. Obviously, my take is condolences for those that lost their lives. And to lose your lives while worshiping is even worse. I pray they go to heaven if that's where they believe that they go after death and find salvation. Moving on. Officers say 2 are still missing after a Spanish nightclub fire killed 13. The club lacked a permit, by the way. Authorities in the southern Spanish said Monday that 2 people believed to have been in the nightclub where 13 others died in a fire still missing, and that the club was operating again without a permit. The town hall's announcement on X, formerly known as Twitter, came after Francisco J., the central governor's official for the region, earlier said all the missing had been located and no more bodies had been found. Jay later said that it has been some type of confusion in the figures of the missing and the dead, including some of these nationals of Spain, Colombia, Ecuador, and Nicaragua. It was not known how many people were in the club when the fire broke out at 6 a.m. that Sunday. Again, my condolences to those who lost their lives in this nightclub fire in this town in Spain. Again, pray that they find salvation in the afterlife, if that's what they so believe in. World news always sad and like, I don't know, I be trying to find a good world story and it ain't too much. I don't know. The world platform kind of shed light on the tragedies that happen in these countries more than the positives. Because I remember one story, it was like 12 mutilated bodies left in the center in Mexico. And I'm like, damn, do I really want to report on that? I don't know. Wild shit. Moving on to U.S. news. Microsoft CEO says unfair practices by Google led to its dominance as a search engine. You don't say. Microsoft CEO Satya N says unfair tactics used by Google led to its dominance as a search engine. Tactics that in turn has quadrupled the company's rival program Bing, slaughtering Bing. Do anybody use Bing? The CEO testified in a packed Washington, D.C. courtroom as part of the government's landmark antitrust trial against Google's parent company, Alphabet. The Justice Department alleges Google has abused the dominance of its ambiguity search engine to throttle competition and innovation at the expense of customers, alleging that echoing a similar case brought against Microsoft in the late 1990s. As funny as that may sound. Google's dominance was due to arguments that made it the default browser on smartphones and computers. It downplayed the idea that artificial intelligence or any more niche search engines like Amazon or social media sites have meaningfully changed the market in which Microsoft competes with Google. With that being said, it's giants fighting giants, and when giants hurts, move, shatter even, we're going to let them duke it out. Google versus Microsoft. Let's just keep the technology in. That's my take on that one. Moving on. An 8-year prison sentence for the New Hampshire man convicted of running unlicensed Bitcoin businesses. Federal judge on Monday sentenced a New Hampshire man to 8 years in prison for running an unlicensed Bitcoin exchange business and fined him at least $40,000. Although a hearing will be held to determine how much money multiple people who said they were victimized by his enterprise will get. Ian was taken away in handcuffs. following his sentence in U.S. District Court in Concord. Prosecutor said a libertarian activist and radio show host created a business that catered to fraudulent tactics who targeted elderly women with romance schemes, serving as the final step in permanently separating the victims from their money. My take is this is just yet another scam, twist and turn to present day activity with Bitcoin as your main character. But with that being said, you always have players and you always have a sucker because they're born every minute. And people, please watch out for your pennies. You never know who's out there trying to get them and get at them. Moving on. Speaking of getting at your pennies, perfect segue. Cigna is paying over $172 million to settle claims over Medicare Advantage reimbursement. The healthcare provider, the Cigna Group, will pay more than $172 million over these claims. It gave the federal government incorrect Medicare Advantage diagnosis codes in order to inflate reimbursement, i.e., stick it to the man. The case centered around allegations that Cigna violated the False Claims Act by submitting and not withdrawing inaccurate and untruthful codes, according to the U.S. Department of Justice. The department said in a statement Saturday that Cigna falsely certified in writing that its data was truthful. My take, all these big companies are untruthful. They all are making sure the little man are nothing more than cogs in their big system to remain what they are. Big business. Drives on us. Listen, just the other day, I ordered not once, not twice. I'm on my third Temu order. And look, I waited because I'm like, I don't know if the Chinese collecting the info, but you know what? When I was looking at them prices, I had to give them a shot. The first order came great. The socks are nice. Temu for the win. That's my take. Moving on. Last living suspect in the 1996 drive-by shooting of my favorite rapper of all time, Tupac Shakur, was indicted in Las Vegas on murder charges. A man who prosecutors said ordered the 96 killing of rapper Tupac Shakur was arrested and charged with murder Friday in a long-awaited breakthrough in one of hip-hop's most enduring cases. We all know him as Keefe D. No need to hide his name. He want to go around talking to every podcast ever. So we all know who Keefe D is. He has been a long known to the investigators as one of 4 suspects identified early in the investigation. He isn't the accused gunman, but was described as the group's ringleader by authorities Friday at a news conference in a court. In Nevada, you can be charged with a crime, including murder, if you help someone commit the crime. Keefe D was the shot caller for this group of individuals that committed this crime, said Las Vegas Police Homicide Lieutenant Jason J. And he orchestrated the plan that was carried out. I gotta say, my take is justice for Pac. I don't care if it's 27 years later. If this is us finding closure, I'm gonna take it. I still am kind of reserved just to get all facts of this case out, identified, and explained. And from there, because I can't lie, I never thought old boy was the shooter. I always heard a big arm, so it might have wasn't Keefe. It could have been Dre because Dre played ball and Dre was a bigger individual who was in the car as well. But if the shot caller the only one left for Pac to get justice, hey, we're running with it. That's my take. Keefe D, you should have been shut up. Moving on. Man arrested in Peru to face charges over hoax bomb threats to U.S. schools synagogues, airports, etc. A man was arrested in Peru after U.S. officials said he sent over 150 bomb threats to U.S. school districts, synagogues, airports, hospitals, and to a small mall last month, according to the Department of Justice. Investigators said Eddie Manuel Nunez S. of Lima, Peru, had to have been very bored, approached young girls on an unnamed gaming platform posing as a teenage boy named Lucas and requested they send him sexually explicit photos of themselves. Court documents allege when the girls refused, he threatened to kill them, blow up their schools, and made other threats in an attempt to extort the children sexually abuse material from them. He then emailed to fill out online forms to send hoax bomb threats to those places and others. Investigators said, my take, lock him up, throw away the key. He's bored. He don't need a keyboard, a computer, anything to talk to nobody in terms of online. He's crazy. Let him just go sit somewhere and relax. Who in the hell sends bomb threats to 150 folks out of nowhere and for no reason? Who does that but a bored individual who would rather be locked up than free? That's my take. Hip hop and entertainment news. Again, let me take a little sip because this is a long one, but everybody who's anybody is talking about the Tupac recent arrest that was made, the proffer agreement, Keefe D talking too much. So obviously I gotta lead with this story, followed by a couple of more hip hop and entertainment stories. So again, let me sip. Speaking of sip, I might have had a drink or two celebrating what I might call a comeback around victory in what I do, which is real estate. And again, this podcast is definitely not about real estate, but I got a house back from the dead that died and was revived, and now we're about to have a closing date, and that's live. So I kind of, had the celebratory drink. But again, hip hop and entertainment news. Tupac's murder case continues to take more twists and turns as a witness has claimed that Orlando Anderson, wasn't the trigger man. Again, wasn't. Contrary to popular opinion, Anderson's uncle, Keefe D, was arrested last week in connection to the late rapper's death, marking the first time. I know what I haven't been doing, using my highlighter, and that's why I've been having issues, along with probably needing some glasses at 45. But no, Keefe D was arrested last week in connection with the late rapper's death, marking the first time charges have been made in the long unsolved case, which is fucking crazy. Keefe D, a former Southside Compton Crip, has been charged with murder with the use of a deadly weapon with the intent to promote, furthermore, or assist a criminal gang, according to court documents obtained by Hip Hop DX. I mean, Keefe D, like, I don't know. You talk too much. You never shut up. That's like the song that comes in my head. Like, bro, like, you was given Queen for a day, which is what proffer agreements are. You're not guaranteed immunity, which I guess you thought you had. And in retrospect, now they have your ass. And I mean, you killed one of the greatest rappers alive, bro. I had something to do with it, and my biggest influence. What else can I do but look into a camera and say, "Hey, nice to know you." Moving on. Outkast Speaker Box and The Love Below becomes best-selling rap album of all time. Outkast has had plenty of major career milestones since their founding in 1992, but they recently hit their biggest yet, at least numeratically. sporadically. Fuck it, I can't pronounce it. Don't be mad at me. On Friday, September 29th, the duo's 2003 album Speaker Box, The Love Below, was certified 13 times platinum, which means it sold 13 million copies by the RIAA, which is the Recording Industry Association of America. This makes it the largest selling rap album ever in the United States. The Outkast Platter? Pretty word. The Outkast Platter, which contains the duo's massive single, Hey Ya, surpasses Eminem's The Eminem Show, which was certified 12 times platinum last year. Outkast had a little help because of the project's status as a double album. Big Boy and Andre each had one disc. I really love that album, just keeping it real, meaning that each copy sold counts twice. I like that idea, the double album thing. Many of hip hop's other top selling albums also were double LPs, such as Biggie's Life After Death and Tupac's All Eyes on Me and his greatest hits, which makes two possible all time selling double discs by one great artist, Mr. Tupac Amaru Shakur. Moving on. Ice Cube denies NWA played a part in pushing drugs and violence in the black community. Niggas with attitudes, NWA, his long great group, shocked the system in the late 1990s with their provocative lyrics about police brutality, street life, and drug dealing. Did the group have a direct impact on spreading the gangster lifestyle? NWA's Ice Cube addressed that question. On September 25th, Ice Cube requested that his ex-followers, formerly known as Twitter folks, asked his followers on the platform to give him some questions. One user wanted to know if NWA, niggas with attitude, one of my favorite groups, helped destroy conscientious rap while promoting sex, violence, and gangster behavior to young people, which Ice Cube fired back, which I love his clap back. Crack was in the neighborhoods a decade before gangster rap. True. In the 70s, they called it freebase. True. So was heroin, weed, mollies, gangbanging, drive-bys, pimping, and hoeing. Maybe not mollies, but I don't know. Dropping out of school, young girls getting pregnant, cussing and using the N-word. It was all there before NWA. True. The America's Most Wanted album creator continued to debate the topic. At one point, Cube pointed out crime-themed movies from the 70s, such as The Godfather, influenced violent actions. Violence was there before drill rap. True. We understand right from wrong at the very early age. Some grow up and choose violence. Been their way for centuries. Tweeted Ice Cube, and I can't do nothing but agree. My take is simply this. There are some people that let music influence them. They are what we call nutbags. We cannot control every nutbag because you know what? They've been nutbags since they were born, and any little thing would probably influence them to be what? Nutbags. That's my take on that. Never think a rap song will influence anything in this fucked up society we live in that we call the United States of America anyway. Never just think it's just rap or rappers. Never. Moving on. I just can't make this shit up news. Now, this is a segment that's become near and dear to my heart. I don't know about y'all heart. I don't know. But today's segment, Dolphins. You know, with a little smile on their face. I'm going to tell you right now why that smile been there on the Dolphins, and I've been looking at Dolphins crazy because they all kind of look like they smiling just a little bit. And I think I know why. Listen to this shit I cannot make up. Dolphins deliberately get high on puffer fish toxins by carefully chewing and passing them around. No bullshit. Dolphins are thought of as one of the world's most intelligent species in the animal kingdom, and experts believe they have put their ingenuity to use in the pursuit of getting high. I cannot believe or make this shit up, but I can believe it. In an extraordinary scenes filmed for a new documentary, young dolphins were seen carefully manipulating a certain kind of puffer fish, which, if provoked, releases a nervous toxin. Though in large doses of the toxin can be deadly, in small amounts, it is known to produce a narcotic effect. And the dolphins appear to have worked out how to make the fish release just the right amount to get fucked up. And I knew I wasn't crazy, because my take is I always looked at dolphins and saw a little smile, and now I know why. Moving on to sports news. I already told y'all I've been sipping, so man, I'm gonna just keep it real. Sports about to be short and fucking sweet. I had a terrible weekend. My favorite teams all lost. Let's start with the Saints. They lost. Let's move to LSU. They lost. Let's go over to Auburn. They too lost. Colorado, Prime, lost. Great game. I applaud the possible comeback. I don't believe in a moral victory, but it was still a loss. So that about wraps it up for sports. Oh, yeah. The Dolphins, even the smiling fucking Dolphins, lost to the Bills. My teams are trash, so let me move on to a few sports stories of a few winners and get up out of this sports section this evening. And move on to like this day in history and get up out of here, maybe. The Chiefs pull off a win with the refs' help. They pull off the win over the Jets. Texas had a big win. Top 5 remains the same in college. But as Mahomes slides at the 2 to secure the win, he also secured me losing yet another parlay. Again, I am on a 2-week break from sports betting. It's just going to be poker and poke her for a while. Fuck it. I don't know. I'm just off. I haven't won but a couple bets, and I'm going to take a 2-week hiatus from sports betting. This day in history. And I do apologize, sports was short for my folks that look forward to sports, but okay, Bama won, Texas won. Shit, what else? A lot of other shit happened in sports. I don't know. I'm just upset. I mean, Saints look like shit. They made the Bucks. Y'all want me to elaborate? I'm gonna elaborate on sports since I ran through sports and really just wanted to move on. The Saints had the Bucks looking like superstars. Baker Mayfield was out there balling against my Saints that supposedly have such a great defense. This is what I have to watch. LSU. Not saying the game wasn't good, but we lost to Ole Miss. Auburn. Everybody's like, Auburn stayed with Georgia, but we still lost. The point is we lost. And with the Auburn, if I could divulge, we had no running game in that game, so we were one-dimensional, which will usually lead to a loss. Georgia, the number 1 team in the country, you got to mix it up. And how you let the tight end, who I feel, after looking at that game, is one of the better tight ends I've seen in a while. Because the thing about a tight end could trick you into thinking he'll be good at the next level. This guy right here, I'm willing to bet my last dollar that he will. Bowers, That's how you say his name, Bowers. That guy there will be good in the next level, the NFL. You could stamp that. But again, moving on, this day in history, October 2nd, 1974. Future Baseball Hall of Famer and right fielder Hank Aaron hits his final home run as a member of the Atlanta Braves. In a 13-0 drubbing of the Cincinnati Reds, Aaron's 733rd career home run on his last National League at bat. Hank Aaron, not only a national treasure, but a baseball icon. Proud to say that my son is a baseball player, and we definitely teach of our players of past so he could explain and experience and appreciate the game of baseball, which he loved and so passionate about, because there was people that played the game before him that if he studied bits and pieces of him, a little Ricky Henderson on the stolen bases, could brush off on him, a little Ken Griffey on the swinging outfielding. My boy, a great player. I don't like to brag. I don't mean to boast. But my boy good at that baseball shit, like for real. So I talk about him sometime, and I had to put the Hank Aaron thing when I saw that as something that happened today's history, just so I could blend that. But I also am a kid at heart and saw a couple of other things that happened on this day in history. In 1950, the Peanuts comic strip by Charles M. S. first appeared in newspapers. For those that's a little young and don't know the Peanuts, I bet you know who Charlie Brown is, who Snoopy is, who Linus is. Yeah, this day in history, the Peanuts debuted in 1950. But a couple of things that I also saw that was kind of wild as I was doing my This Day in History research, which y'all all can do. All my information is found online. This podcast is purely for entertainment purposes. I do not teach, preach, nor do I advise on a motherfucking thing. But no, in closing, two of my favorite shows were also premiering this day in history on television in two different years. The Alfred Hitchcock Show and The Twilight Zone both premiered October 2nd, 1955 and 1959, respectively, which I thought was pretty neat. Normally, at this point of the show, we would be taking call-ins and trying to extend the show for 50 minutes. But since we have no chat interaction, as I check the emails before I get up out of here and leave y'all with, of course, a little music melody, I bid adieu and thank y'all for joining me for this That's My Take podcast. I believe episode 6. No, we did 6, so 7 or 8. But thank y'all for joining me. But yes, let me double check, see if anybody emailed in, which again, we're in no rush to interact because we only want to interact with folks that want to interact with us. Yeah, no interactions today. And again, you can easily text, not text, easily email the emails that's given in the description and get in contact with me for any inquiries, or again to get on and give your take on any of the things that I brought up today on the podcast. But again, I thank y'all. I look forward to us seeing and doing this again. What's that? Today's Monday, so let's shoot for Wednesday. Let's come right back at y'all. Let's see, I feel like Wednesday a little quick. Thursday. Throwback Thursday. The old cat coming back Thursday. With That's My Take. But yeah, let me end with some music and get up out of here. I love all y'all, man. From a hater to a player. Always remember that. Always remember that. What we feel like listening to. So many choices. Let's go with this one. This is a song I wrote called Late Bloomer. I tend to like it. I tend to love all my motherfucking music. So if I ain't my own worst critic and biggest fan, what am I? You know? So without further ado, it says 2017. Late Bloomer. Y'all have a good night. It sounds like a little leaving song too. We're doing all this without a board. We're moving to a new spot and we're gonna have a board. Okay, and it's just the instrumental. That's even better. It sounds like a little part and little, you know what I'm saying? This might be my little leaving song. A little jazzy. But y'all have a good evening, man. Thank y'all for joining me. I'm going to watch this Monday Night Football game. Peace.